But my dream as a kid was to play 2 professional sports. So I really had to be diligent on how I picked my college because I wanted that dream to continue in college, playing 2 sports. So a lot of Division I schools, they wanted me for football or they wanted me for baseball. Rarely did they want me for both. And University of Maryland recruited me for the longest time. And the whole time they told me I could play 2 sports at University of Maryland. So I stopped taking trips to other colleges because I knew Maryland wanted me and I wanted to be there. So just as I went there to sign a dotted line to play for University of Maryland Terps, Bobby Ross looked at me and said I had to sit out my freshman year of baseball. And if any of you guys know baseball, it's tough to sit out a year and think you're going to be that same player when you come back. So that's something I did not want to do. And I remember it was one of the toughest choices I had to make in life is to stand up and look at my parents and say, I can't go here. And that's why I decided on University of Richmond because, one, it was close to home. It was Division I AA, of course, but academically, I was a 3.2 student in high school, so it wasn't about academics for me as far as whether I'm going to any college. I had the opportunity because my academics was there, but University of Richmond was a smaller college. I knew academically I would be focused, and my dream again to play 2 professional sports, but graduate from college being my number one thing. So University of Richmond worked out for me perfectly.
So mom and dad, were mom and dad pushing you? Because I know mom well. Mom's a school teacher. So that academics, I see where that's coming at your foundation. We'll talk about that a little later on. But was that one of your reasons for making sure you graduated college? Was mama's keeping mama happy and what she wanted to do?
No question about it, Mike. Again, I said I'm a mama's boy. So whatever mama says, I did it. And she was big on academics, so I couldn't get away with anything. And I wouldn't wish this on anybody, but my mom taught at my high school. So you better believe I didn't get away with anything. No matter how many times I lied and said I wasn't talking in class, she found out and she caught me in the act. So she was my rock. Both my parents were my rock, my role model. So, they definitely wanted to see me graduate from college, number one, because just as I speak to all the kids, you can take sports away from somebody, but academics, you can't take that away once you get your degree. So that was important to me, and it worked out perfectly.
Yeah, and as people get to, I say, peel back the onion and know who you are. I always say, look at the parents. And yeah, I know Mr. and Mrs. Jordan well. So, we lost Mr. Jordan years ago, and I just remember that time we were going through and what you were going through. And I'd lost my dad years ago before that, and just be at the house with the Jordans. They live in the same house. How long they lived in that house, BJ? Mama still won't leave it. You there? How long's mom been in that house in Maryland?
I'm sorry?
How long has mom been in that house in Maryland?
Wow. Probably over 50-something years.
And if you think
been there a long time.
And you think he's a mama's boy, you go in the basement and it's like a shrine. And mama loved him. Mama loves him for sure. So BJ, college was awesome. You did great. Tell us this is the one thing I talk about with adversity, and we're seeing what's going on in the market and how we adjust to it. Tell me about, and make sure I have the stories correct, is your senior year of college, and I think it's the Senior Bowl you played in, and you already knew where you were headed, but you played in that game and might shouldn't have or did. Tell us the story behind that. People really get to know who you are.
The fact that I went to a smaller school, University of Richmond, although I really had a lot of success, both in baseball and football there, my junior year of baseball, I got a chance to play. We had an exhibition against the Richmond Braves, and Mark Lemke, Ron Gant, and all those guys, Dave Justice, they were down in AAA at the time. So I had a chance to face their top prospect, Derek Lilliquist, at the time, and boy, did I have a good game. And right after that game, the St. Louis Cardinals came to me and said they wanted to draft me first round. And I'm like, whoa, this is awesome. But I knew what my dream was. I wanted to play 2 professional sports. So I signed with the Cardinals on the condition that I could come back and graduate from the University of Richmond, but play my redshirt junior year football because, again, I wanted to play 2 professional sports. So I signed with the Cardinals. They sent me to Ontario, Canada to play on their rookie team. And I hit over 300 and left after 30 games and prepared for my senior year of college academically and my redshirt junior year football. Well, I had a really good football season. The fact that I went to a smaller school, I was projected to be a 3rd-round draft pick after my redshirt junior year. So the Senior Bowl came to me and wanted me to play in the Senior Bowl, which was the most prestigious bowl game for any college player that's looking to play in the NFL. And for me, I had to prove myself because I felt like I was a first-round pick. But when they had me projected to be a 3rd-round pick, I had to go to the Senior Bowl and play and perform well. And that week, Dan Reeves and the Denver Broncos coaching staff, they coached me the whole week. And I went from a projected 3rd-round pick to possibly being the first safety picked in the draft, me or Steve Atwater, for those who know their football. So, going there, I accomplished something great, and that was to be the first or second safety picked in the draft and being a 1st-round pick. But the first quarter of that game, and to me, this is how you measure anybody, how you can get through adversity, how do you get through obstacles. And the first quarter of the ball game, I run across the field to make the big hit on Cleveland Gary, University of Miami. My own teammate hits my leg and breaks my leg, dislocates my ankle, and I'm laying there thinking my dreams were over at the time. And being a mama's boy, my mom came down on the field, and and that's when I knew that the injury was pretty bad because my bone was almost coming out of my leg and my ankle was turned the other way. It was a pretty severe injury. The doctors at the combine at NFL looked at my injury and didn't think I could play in the NFL. So it was a test. It was a challenge. I'm a good Christian guy, and I believe in God, and I believe that He will challenge you. He will test you. And those who take on that test and challenge and still believe are the ones that's going to be successful. So many people told me I couldn't do it. But I told those doctors after surgery, putting plates and screws in there, I don't care if I'm crying. I got something to prove to those doctors. Nobody's going to ever tell me I can't do something. And I worked really hard. I persevered. And next thing you know, I still got drafted by Buffalo, had a great camp. And I was the 46-man on a 45-man roster, which broke my heart. That was the first time I was ever cut in any sport. But it worked out great. Marv Levy and those guys wanted to keep me in Buffalo on injured reserve, but I knew that I could play somewhere. And although I still wasn't 100%, I knew I could play at a pretty good level anywhere. And ended up the next day in Atlanta. And next thing you know, I started for the Atlanta Falcons and started every game that once they put me on injured reserve and I was able to come off, I started every game for Atlanta Falcons for 3 years. So it was a true test, but if you can overcome, if you believe you can overcome, then you can be great at whatever you do. And that was just one of my first experiences ever being really challenged in life.
So we all set goals, and so now you're in the major leagues. What were your goals? I was reading your stats; they're pretty impressive. Like I said, shame on me. Brian was my buddy. I didn't care about his stats. I know how far he can hit a ball. Matter of fact, BJ's played in the later year is an older player. Let's just call it that way. And so these young bucks, unfortunately, they don't know him well enough, and his will to win. They challenge him, and I think he was challenged this past year in a softball home run contest. I think for a bunch of young bucks, you'll hear him talk trash. And who was the winner of that, Brian? If you don't mind sharing the winner of the home run.
Well, of course, I persevered once again, and that's Jeff Francoeur talking so much trash, and that's my colleague now for Fox Sports South. So they wanted to build it up into this big hype thing, but he really rubbed me the wrong way. So I knew I could not lose this match. And I'm going to be honest, it was a good match. I thought Andrew Jones was going to carry my team, but he didn't. He really struggled, him and Ryan Klesko. And but we persevered again. And a one-on-one match with Jeff Rancourt, we went double overtime, but I pulled it out. And Jeff Rancourt stopped talking at that point.
I'm gonna go back to that was Mama, because I've been around Mom before, and yeah, she instilled that will to win in anything you do. And I watched that. When we played ping pong, you were talking about that earlier. It was trust me, for all of you ping pong players, it's on if you want to play us. We play a lot of ping pong, and it gets heated because we want to win. We play to win. Yeah. So let's go to another thing that I look back at in your career that really impresses me, and it's after 9/11. What did 9/11 mean to you, and how did you really struck me even last night, because I know the success of that game, your success, but I know the ultimate winner of that game, and you said it happened the way it should have happened. So tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, we all know that was a terrible time for this country, 9/11 with the terrorists attacking the Twin Towers. It put everything in perspective. It put life in perspective. And, to be able to play in New York right after that and be the first game back, to me was an honor. It was a little scary at the same time because you witnessed what just happened in New York. But once I got to the stadium, I felt really good. We had great security, but I had a chance to feel what New Yorkers were feeling at the time. I mean, that fear there, but they came out and they packed the stadium. And for me, I didn't know what to expect once the game started. I knew it was going to be a lot of ceremonies on the field. And I remember the ceremony on the field where I was just compelled to this family. It was a mom, her sons, and they were crying and tearing up. And I just went over and just hugged them. I didn't know why. I didn't know why I selected that family, but I went over and hugged them. And, we kind of cried together before the field. I felt so bad. They lost their dad. She lost her husband. And to see them still come out and everybody looking for sports to be that way to get over this whole 9/11. I mean, I look at it today, it's almost the same thing. We miss our sports and how easy it is to shut down a country, when something goes wrong. And this is another terrible time in my eyes. We're losing people left and right, and we just don't know why. And it's so important for us to try to stay safe and grab our family and hug them, because you don't know, when it's your time or family members' time. And to be there in New York, hear the fans, see them come out in groves, and for the United States to show their strength that we're not scared, we're going to continue on with life. It was a moment I would never forget, man. And just the results of the game. Yeah, we want to win. But for me, that was the first time I didn't mind losing the game. And for me to come up and get a big hit late in the game to take the lead, and then see Mike Piazza hit a 2-run home run, and just hear the fans, the joy that they had in New York through this tough time. It was heartfelt. I didn't mind losing. I wanted to high five Mike Piazza myself for pulling the New York fans through, during that tough time. I thought it was a great celebration in New York at that moment. But man, it was something I would never forget, man, to be a part of that game, the first game back.
Well, that leads us to what today is. Today is for Braves country. We'd be in the middle of watching Braves and listening to you on Fox, and here we are in our houses. So again, I want to thank you for taking your time and telling us your story and getting personal, and everybody get to know you a little bit better, and who Brian Jordan is, the guy that I just know is my buddy. And so let's go back. You're also an author, right?
I am an author of now 4 children's books.
4. Okay. So, Tell me the fourth one, because I can tell you. Hold on. Look, I'm going to get away from my screen. Sorry, Braves country. There we go. This is number 3, I believe. Timeout.
Yes.
Yeah.
Timeout for bullies.
So let's go through them. Number 1 is I told you I can play.
I told you I could play is about, my personal experience growing up, being challenged, proving people wrong. And my brother would never let his younger brother play with him in anything. And I was always tagging along because my parents made him babysit me. And I wanted to play in a football game with the older boys, but he would never let me. And then I finally got my chance when a young kid's mom came and pulled him off the field. And I scored a touchdown against the older boys. And I held that football up in my hand and told my brother, I told you I could play. And that's, that was my first step toward knowing that I can achieve something. I can accomplish something in life. And to prove my brother wrong, that was the first step of proving a lot of people wrong in my life. So it was a great experience. And I wanted to share that with kids, that you got to believe in yourself. And when you get that opportunity, it may hurt because those big boys, they were hurting me. But I stuck it out and I scored the touchdown. So I was very proud.
That's awesome. I love it. I love it.
Then going into my second book, Overcoming the Fear of the Baseball, so many young kids today, they get hit, the toddlers in the T-ball leagues, they get hit with the baseball and they're scared to get back in there. And they end up giving up on a sport that they possibly could be really, really good one day. And I got hit in the face when I was young and I was so scared to get back in there. But, thank goodness my dad just took me out in the back and kept encouraging me and throwing the tennis ball at me and until I finally got over my fear. And thank goodness he did that, to go on and play 15 years of Major League Baseball. That would have never happened if I would have remained to be feared from that baseball early on. And my third book is just show Time Out for Bullies. My mom being an educator, special needs kids, she taught me what bullying was all about. And once I learned, I went to my school. And the fact that I was kind of athletic and, strong looking, nobody bothered me. So I monitored the hallways and see who was getting picked on. And I became their friend. And a lot of the smaller guys, the very smart guys and girls, they were the ones that always got bullied. So they became my friend. I eat lunch with them every day. And all of a sudden, they started getting confident because I would pick them on my gym team every day. And we would beat the bullies and everybody else. So they gained confidence. And that's what it's all about, just becoming a friend sometimes when you see bullying happen. And then my fourth one that you don't know about is The Adventures of Champ Jr. It's about a family of dogs. And right now it's going through the process of getting self-published, and it'll be ready for next year's school year, whenever that may be. Hopefully it'll be in August like normal. But yeah, it's an awesome book. I'm excited about that and possibly want to turn it into a little movie. So we'll see.
I love it. Yeah, I had the opportunity. Some of y'all might know I'm from DeKalb County, and I brought Brian to the school, and it was K through 7 when I was in school, and I think it's K through 6 now. And Brian came and read to all the kids, and we gave a book to every kid there. And it was pretty cool to give back after 30 years of leaving my elementary school and take Brian there. And these kids, they didn't even know, but we showed the highlight reel. And, after they saw that, yeah, they knew who Brian Jordan was. And they all wanted to take a picture with him. And I think, it's funny when you take Brian around, the kids are, the generation don't know him, but the parents know who he is. And them school teachers, they love seeing Brian Jordan. Well, I appreciate that. Let's jump into the foundation then. In 1998, you started the Brian Jordan Foundation. I had the privilege, me and Marla both, to serve on that fantastic board and still be very involved with you and the foundation and coming to the event every year and playing a little golf with you. And I know it's focused on literacy, health and fitness, and scholarships. Let's talk about that.
Well, in 1998, again, I watched my mom pour her heart and soul into to giving back, and my dad was always coaching other kids and always instrumental as a mentor in a lot of kids' lives. And so I knew if I ever make it professionally and be successful that way, that I wanted to do something. And I started my foundation in 1998, providing scholarships for those kids who really work hard, single parents, and they deserve to go to college, but just don't have the finances. So that's something in my foundation in 1998. It started out with one scholarship, and just last year we gave out 29 scholarships at Truist Park now, the new name. And I do that in June every year at the stadium. We honor some kids that deserve the scholarships and receive them going to college. And, it brings a tear to my eye every year, when I sit down and interview some of these kids. Some of these kids are so impressive. They play the mommy role, because they have to when it's a single parent home and mom's working all the time. Usually it's a son or daughter that really has to take care of the siblings. And to be able to take care of the siblings, work, and maintain a 3.8 or 4.0 GPA, it's so impressive. And, a lot of times I just love going through the interview process and hearing some of these stories, because it just goes to show that you can do whatever you want to do, if you set your mind to it. And we all have to sacrifice at times. And it's a shame some of these young kids have to sacrifice so young. They don't get a chance to be a kid, and but to see the focus in their face and what they want to achieve in life, I'm just happy to be a part of it and happy to give those scholarships out. And since '98, though, we kind of expanded out into the reading program, and literacy is so important because I was that kid who had no confidence in reading. And like so many kids today, through not having parents at home or whatever it may be, they're falling behind. They're falling behind an 8 ball because they can't read. And once I learned a statistic that they're building jail cells based on third grade reading, I knew I wanted to step up and do a little more, because the number was astounding. Almost 70% of the kids that's not reading in third grade end up in jail. And, that's just not right. And so I want to be a part of making that change. So that's why I started the Brian Jordan Challenge program this year in Douglas County, where I challenged all third graders to read. And I told them my story. And it was just amazing to see when I asked the question, how many kids in here are like me? You had no confidence. You were scared to death when the teacher goes around and point out somebody to read. That was me. That was me back in the day. And to see the kids raise their hand was just, mind-boggling, because I know I would have never raised my hand if I couldn't read and I had no confidence. I'd have been too scared to. But after hearing my story, these kids raised their hand. And I look at the teacher like, now you know who you need to focus on. But these kids have improved tremendously in Douglas County, and it's exciting. And I want to implement it in every school system, not just here in Georgia, but around the world, because I think we need to challenge these kids. We need to motivate these kids to read, and they can go a long way once you can read. So that's my new mission, a part of my foundation, and we're making it happen.
BJ, I love it. I absolutely love it, and I know you are. You're making a difference. Let's see here. So what challenged you every day? What motivates Brian? I know a couple of years you trained for an event. What motivates you every day?
I just think God had blessed me with so many opportunities in my life, and regardless of how I feel or how I think I have to accept that role as a role model. And I wake up every morning knowing somebody's watching me, and I have to be on my best behavior. And, because it would disappoint me to disappoint a kid. So it's important for me to lead by example, cook. This is great family time. Never thought I'd be home cooking food and being locked in, but I'm kind of having fun, and for my son and daughters to see daddy's cooking and stepping up, that's important to me. I'm not going to be that person that's lazy and sit around and, all of a sudden you're building a bad foundation for your kids, So I'm always doing something, helping somewhere. And that's important. I think, although this is reality for everybody, how quickly this country can be locked down, I think it's a blessing in many ways because it brings family together, which we know we're always so busy and always go on the go that we miss that time with our kids, and they're going their separate way, we're going our separate way. So it gives us an opportunity to sit down and kind of reacquaint ourselves with our family members and do things together. So, although bad things are bad, sometimes good come from it.
Oh, I totally agree. It's like a reset button. Yesterday, we extended it to the 30th. I'm dancing around excited because I know just for my kids, because they were in the room with us, and Michael's going crazy, Dad, I got to get out of here. I'm like, I got you for a little bit more time, buddy. And you're right. It's a reset because they're off and gone, and we don't really, and we're on a hamster wheel going every single day doing what we do. So it's kind of just stopped and made us realize really what's important. And I'm watching you and your shows and what you do. I want to mention one other person in your life that's I had the great pleasure of talking to at the tournament the other day, and who's made a difference in people's lives. And you know that we created our foundation and follow a lot of your footsteps and what we Marla wanted to do, and to make a difference in the pediatric world and Brain Tumor Foundation. But with work done, and when I hear you talk, just knowing that guy. His size, and to know he was an incredible special athlete in the NFL, and then where his heart is for single moms and how you were talking about that and building houses, and we're in the housing industry. A lot of people on this Zoom call. You surround yourself with good people. I've seen the people that there's a lot of athletes out there, and there's a lot of people that are not. And I have two questions to ask you when this is over. And so be prepared for two heart-wrenching, I call them, questions for you. But my knowing who you are as a person is really, I think that's why you are who you are. And again, I'm going to go back to, I know Miss Jordan very well, and she'd probably tear into you if you were disrespectful to anybody. And I'm going to go back to the last thing I said is who you are with the custodians at the stadium than you are with the players. And that speaks volumes. I know it probably why we became who we were, friends, because of that. And that just tells, and I think people, your smile, if you watch him on, some of y'all, he's talking on Sports Live, I'll send him a text during a game because I'm laughing at something he's done or said, and he's laughing too and trying to hold back and not on camera. Before I open the questions, I'm going to ask you this question. It's kind of funny. I have a funny story behind it, but what do you fear the most?
What do I fear the most?
Yeah. This is kind of a funny question, actually. So you'll think about it.
Don't even get it started, man. I fear bugs. That's what I fear. You're going to make me tell that story, Mike. That's not good. All right, you're frozen. What's going on?
Yeah, I'm still here to be able to tell. Are you there?
Are you frozen? You're going in and out. Okay.
All right. Yeah, I just wanted to, I had to add that in there as a funny between me and you and the fear of bugs.
Well, now that you brought that up, I'm going to have to tell a story now.
Yeah, that's why everybody wants to hear it.
All right, well, if, like Mike, he knows me, I don't like bugs at all. And I had a terrible experience. We, in Major League Baseball, we're playing, and this is when I played with the Cardinals. Joe Torre was my manager, and we're in San Diego. And for some reason, there were moth bugs everywhere in the stadium. I mean, flying in the air. So we get there, and it's still light out. We're taking batting practice. And I could see all those moths flying around. So I can imagine when when the sun goes down, how bad it's going to be. So we finished batting practice, and I'm in the starting lineup. And I go in Joe Torre's office and said, Joe, I can't play today. And he looked at me like I was crazy. And I said, man, I got a bug phobia, and it's too many moths out there, man. I'm not going to be able to focus. So Joe looked at me and he saw me kind of shaking. So he said, okay, I'm going to take you out of the lineup, but if I need you late in the game, you got to come out and play. So I'm sitting there. I'm on my knees praying that we get blown out or we blow them out and they won't need me late in the game. And, of course, it always happens. In the 7th inning, the game was 1-1, and the phone rings. And I'm in my uniform. I have my helmet on. And I pick up the phone, and Joe Torre says, hey, I need you to come down and hit. And I'm like, oh, my gosh, no way. So I open the door. I put my head down, helmet over my eyes, and I could feel the moths just hitting my body. And it's an awful feeling. So I get down, I get up to the plate, man on second and third, 1 out. I get a base hit. I mean, I'm looking at the picture, moths are flying right past my eyes. It was terrifying. So I get a hit, 2 runs score. I'm on first base, and I'm like, I can't wait till we get 3 outs. Get 3 outs. The 3rd out happens. I go sprinting off the field, and Joe Torre says, hey, hold on. I got to double switch you. And I'm like, no. So I'm sitting in left field with the glove over my face, looking through the little holes. And I did not remove the glove from my face. And I don't know whether God was looking out for me, but I did not get a ball in left field until 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th. And the ball is coming. I got the glove over my eyes. And I take the glove off, I catch the ball, and the moth goes in my nose. I throw the glove off, and I'm slapping my face. It was the worst experience ever in my life playing in that game. So, yes, I do have a bug phobia.
So I'd ask everybody to keep this in this little chat.
Yes, please don't tell anybody that story.
That is a fantastic story. And you've got everybody laughing, and that's exactly what everybody needed, was a little humor today. And I appreciate you telling that. Yeah, everybody's liking that and telling that story. So I'm going to open up. We've got about 20 minutes and questions for Brian. I know a lot of Braves country, y'all see him out there. You've had the experience to watch him play. They actually just did the 9/11 replay last week, which was pretty awesome. So I know Andy.
My
leader. Yeah, there he is.
What's up, Andy?
He had several questions for you, Brian. And so Andy, go ahead.
Yeah, Brian, lifelong Braves fan, lifelong Falcons fan. So what a treat. Thanks for sharing your time with us, man. We really appreciate it. My question, right now, we're really coming together as a team, and I'm always interested in how team dynamics work, but most importantly, I was curious, like, who are your best teammates and why, and who are the best coaches and why?
Wow. Okay. I'll start with the Falcons. Had to be Deion Sanders. So many people get the wrong idea or wrong image of Deion. Deion was the greatest player and the smartest player I've ever played with. Of course, he had great athletic ability, but he was a leader on that field. And, I kind of cling toward those leaders. And Deion definitely was that guy. Enjoyed playing with him. And believe it or not, although he marketed himself well on the field, this is a guy that, never used curse word on the field. And he would always sign kids' autographs. I don't care what he was doing. He was always nice. As far as baseball, with the Braves, and I'll just stick with the Braves, John Smoltz, man. I admired John Smoltz. He was a man of Christ. Just one of those good guys, man. He was such a competitor, man, and I loved it. I loved it. And whatever he did, I mean, we used to play basketball against each other and compete. No, none of us wanted to lose. So, I mean, we did whatever it took to win. So he was another guy that I loved to play with. And what was the other third part to that?
Coaches. Who are your
Coaches,
favorite
okay.
coaches?
Believe it or not, Bobby Cox and Joe Torre, I mean, I love both of those guys, man. And they were like grandparents in a sense, where your grandfather just hugs you and leads you the right way, teaches you the right things without screaming and yelling at you. They had to be my top coaches. And football, Jerry Glanville was crazy, but I really liked him, man. He kept it fun. He's always making us laugh. But, I mean, he always pushed us to the max, too. And he wasn't afraid to tell you when you did something wrong. And for me, he turned the Falcons around when he came in, took over for Marion Campbell. And I just enjoyed him, man. He looked out for his players first and foremost. He crushed the media all the time. And he was a fun guy to play with. Thanks for that question, man.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Who else got a question? Come on.
Don't be shy.
There's a couple questions in the chat.
Don't be shy. All right. Okay, Let me go to the chat. Let's see here. Inspiring couldn't be. Is that on YouTube? Fear, Mike. Okay, I wasn't going to go there, but someone asked you. You dabbled. You were in real estate at one time. What's your perspective on real estate?
Well, I love real estate, and what they say, I had great vision but bad timing, and I love the housing market. I became a developer late in my career, where I felt like I could develop a real nice community down south, and it really took off. I was excited. It was my vision, and just bad timing though. That was when the economy crashed, and it was just left a nasty taste in my mouth. I wish I knew more about what was going on when it went on. And I know so many other people could say the same thing, because so many people just, it was suicides committed. I mean, it was a tough time in real estate. And I had to learn so much so quickly. But I still love real estate, and I'll get back into it one day, very soon. And so, you got to be able to sell. You got to be able to sell your story, and that's something that I enjoy doing. That's why we took off so quickly. And but unfortunately, a lot of banks went down the tube, and wow, it was an amazing time. It was good and bad during that time. So, but it left me with a good taste in my mouth as far as real estate. I think real estate is always going to be there, always going to be around. And if you can go out there and believe in yourself, believe that you can sell and get it done, you're going to have a lot of success in real estate. Because, I mean, I'm watching now, there's so much building going on. It's crazy. I mean, how many more people you can fit in Atlanta? But, take advantage of it, believe in yourself, and be a go-getter. Don't take no for an answer. Just ask another question in a different way, and you'll be amazed at what can happen.
I'm going to go back to the sports. Who did you fear the most on the mound?
Wow, for me, it was Curt Schilling, because he had such a nasty split finger, and I just couldn't figure it out. And then when I was traded to LA, Shawn Green, who was a really good outfielder, this guy could tell you whatever pitch was coming by going up and watching video for one inning. And I remember when Curt Schilling I was facing him in LA, and I went to Shawn and said, hey, when is he going to throw that split finger? And Shawn told me exactly when the split is coming. And it was amazing. And then all of a sudden I owned Curt Schilling, because I knew when that split was coming, and I knew he didn't throw for a strike, and I would take it until he has to throw me a fastball. But he was early on one of the guys I feared. And Pedro Martinez, late in his career, when he's in Boston, I mean, he was unhittable. He had so many different speeds on his curveballs that he really kept you off balance as a hitter. So those are the guys that I feared most. And Randy Johnson, just because he was ugly and 6'7". So I feared him anyway.
Hey, I got a question.
Uh-huh.
When you were growing up, who was your inspiration as far as your sporting inspiration and, even spiritual inspiration when you're growing up? And who inspires you now in sports that's playing right now?
For me, my mom and dad, they were my role models. And my dad was my coach. He was the guy that, I don't care who was coaching me at the time, I would always look in the stands at my dad, and he would tell me what I need to do. And he would always push me to be the best. And matter of fact, he pushed me so much when we were in high school, I challenged my dad. I jumped up in his face and, but it was a great moral to that story. That's the way that's the attitude he wanted me to take to college with me. And so him and my mom are my role models. So they really pushed me in every way, inspiration-wise. So as far as now, I love Tim Tebow, man. This guy, I hated the fact that the NFL kind of blackballed him from the game. But sorry about that. I'm getting calls at the same time I'm talking. But, yeah, I mean, this guy is so faithful. He believes in himself, and he goes out there and he proves everybody wrong. And to me, what he does for kids today and the missions that he goes on, I just love his attitude. And now that he's broadcasting with a smile, still playing in the Mets minor league system, he's a guy that I would love my kids to kind of learn from, because you're not going to stop him. I don't care how much you talk about him. He's going to continue to do his thing. And it's guys like that, to me, especially in this generation, that people should appreciate and love. And I know that's Mike's guy, but he's a true leader in my eyes.
I totally agree on that one. So yeah, kind of any thank you. I had to pivot for a minute. Yeah, I was going to ask you who your heroes were, and I kind of know mom and dad. So that one's. So anybody else with some questions?
I got another question.
Okay, good.
I'm curious right now, Ryan, with your involvement with the Braves, what's your outlook on kind of the new baby Braves here, and what do you think this team's all about? What's the core and what's the culture of this team look like?
Well, I'm excited about this team, man. I think the baby Braves are very talented, and we still have some baby Braves down in AAA that's chomping at the bit to get to the big leagues. And, I'm a big fan of Alex Anthopoulos. I like the way he's come in and just taken control, and he's put some really good talent on the field. And he's able to negotiate some serious deals. I mean, the deal at Ozzie Albies, man, as the player, that's a terrible deal, but Alex was able to pull that off, and you got a kid that's just making $5 million for the next 7 years is incredible in this day and age. And even our big guy, which is leaving my head right now.
Acuna.
Yeah, Acuna. I mean, to sign him for $100 million to me is a great deal. I mean, this guy, he's going to be here for a long time. And again, I just think we're going in the right direction with the young pitchers. We could have given up the farm already of young pitchers and gotten some veterans, but that's not the route he wants to go. He wants to develop these guys, and I just think we have a slew of talent in the minor leagues, man. And you got to give him a lot of credit for that. And yeah, so we're going in the right direction. I think when we went from worst to first in '91. I think you're going to see that. I think we're going to have a dynasty for a long time here.
Go. Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Was it hard to train for football and baseball at one time? Was it difficult for you?
It wasn't because, again, I played 3 sports, coming up all the way through high school. And so I was used to switching sports. And, it's about prioritizing your time. And, when football was rolling around, I used to tend to bulk up. I wanted to lift heavy so that I could have that muscle and I can endure all that contact in football. But then toward the end of the season, I know I'm going to basketball. I lay off the weights and I start getting flexible. And that's the same thing with baseball. When baseball season rolls around, it's not about being bulky. It's about being flexible. So you learn to exercise according to your sport. And mentally, I was always prepared. I was hungry to go to that next sport. And that's why I'm such an advocate of parents making their kids play multiple sports so that they won't burn out on one and they'll stay flexible and they'll stay strong at the same time, which to me, if you want to play baseball for an example, if you want to be a first round pick, they're going after the athletic kid, not the kid that played baseball his whole life, because mentally he's trained one way. And it's hard to get a kid out of that mentality versus an athlete who is raw, that you can train to be who you want them to be. So it's important to use different muscles, stay flexible, and just work hard.
Thanks, Mr. Bryan.
No problem, buddy.
Great question, Alex. Anybody else?
BJ.
Hey, man.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, BJ, huge fan. I appreciate you taking the time out today. I got a question for you. Just looking back on your career, what's the at-bat that you're most proud of? Can you walk us through that?
Wow. Okay. It was matter of fact, it was the year 2001 when we did come back from 9/11. We came back from 9/11 and Greg Maddux started the game against the Mets. And this was late in the season where the Mets was starting to make a run. I mean, they were playing some great baseball. And I think we were only 3 games up. And Maddux had a terrible game. He gave up like 8 runs. And the Mets jumped all over us. And I remember in that 9th inning, we came back, and I hit a walk-off grand slam. And I forgot who was up in front of me. It was 2 outs, and I said, all you have to do is get on base, and I'm going to win this game. It's the first time I ever called out a home run. And he took the walk, bases loaded, and Franco, the count was 0-2. He had me because it was during that time where the shadows was in the outfield, so you couldn't recognize the changeup. And I don't know why he came back with a fastball, but he threw me an 0-2 fastball up in the zone, and I hit a walk-off grand slam. So that was my most memorable at-bat of my career.
That's
awesome.
That's a good question, Matt. Who else? Good. Another question.
See if there's anything in the chat.
Check the chat. Everybody's saying thank you, and you take the time to sign stuff for kids. Thanks in your heart. Yeah, that. What's that?
Besides writing books, what are you doing now? I know you're involved with the broadcast as well, but what are you doing to stay active in baseball or as a hobby?
Well, I'm cooking right now for the family. I'm working on my cooking skills. But for me, it's supporting other good foundations. I do a lot of speaking engagements for corporations now. But right now I'm unemployed like a lot of people. Man, the baseball season is out. So, just working hard with my foundation, continuing to grow it, and I'm working on these reading challenges, not just in Douglas County, but around Georgia and St. Louis and other places. So, that's my focus now. And again, it's always about, changing the lives of the kids.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That'll lead into my question. That's a great question. So, Brian, before we get off here, I'm going to ask you a question. Why the Molders?
Why the Molders?
What created the bond that you and I that happened? Just I was a normal sports guy. Never asked really for your autograph. You did something for my son. But why the Molders? I've never asked you that question.
Because of
and
Mallory.
I knew it. I brought her into the picture.
Mallory. That's why. No, you guys are great people, man, and
Brian Jordan.
But when I met Mallory, she just took my heart, and I love her to death, and love what she's accomplished in her life. As she's continuing to grow, and to be able to watch that, and now that you guys have created a foundation to support the strength of her, it's awesome to be a part of that, man. And I'm just gonna sit back and enjoy watching you guys grow that foundation, and continue to watch Mallory just continue to grow. It's awesome. You guys as parents are very strong, and to go through what you guys have gone through, to see your daughter grow up and overcome so many odds, it means so much to me. And Mallory is my baby, and I just appreciate her so much. So that's why the Molders.
That was my last leading question, and I appreciate you bringing tears to my eyes. I guess that's the mama's boy in me as well. I thank you. I think you brought Braves country to you enlightened them to who Brian Jordan is, not just the incredible athlete that can play pretty much. You put him in putt-putt, he's going to beat you in putt-putt, or he's going to challenge you. He's that dad that when the son challenges you to run down the street, he's gonna win until he's gonna keep going until he wins. We have a lot in that in common. And thanks for sharing yourself with us today as you're quarantined. We look forward to seeing the Braves to give us back that just that hope of tomorrow, and we look forward to seeing Braves country and the Braves and baseball in general back. Can't wait to have that back. Gives us an outlet. So I've kept Mallory put up until, because I knew when she saw you, she'd go excited. So you're welcome to come.
Love you, Mallory.
Yeah, I can't do a heart. Golly, come on. Love you too.
So thank you, buddy. I appreciate your time. I appreciate everybody jumping on today. I want to give you a different feel. We've done a lot of, it's the same thing in real estate, and what you need to do and play to win. That's the word I'm going to use today, play to win. I'm going to get this opportunity because I got the mic. I'm going to say I wish everybody a good Friday, happy Easter with your family, and God bless you. And thank y'all. And BJ, thanks again, buddy. I appreciate your time.
Thursday.
All right, you guys take care now. And be safe, everybody.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, y'all. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you, Brian.
Bye, Brian. Love you.
Love you too. Bye-bye.
Bye.